Teamwork isn't just nice to have in business, it's the undisputed competitive advantage. When your team members work as a unified force, your whole operation benefits through higher productivity, thriving creativity, and unstoppable momentum. Welcome to the Impactful Teamwork Podcast, where we share with you strategies and tactics to help you develop game-changing teams so that you and your business can make a real difference in the world. So welcome back, everyone, to this week's edition of Impactful Teamwork. And today I am delighted to bring another guest to you. And this is Teri Pruitt. And I really wanted to invite Teri onto the show because she has an incredible background in that she has been working on Broadway, and she brings a lot of analogies from what's happening in the theatre world into business. So I thought this would be super exciting to have on, because I always think that metaphors and analogies are the best way for us to learn more about leadership, learn about what's happening in other industries. Teri, why don't you just give everyone a short background about what you've been doing, your career on Broadway? You've worked on some amazing shows like Wicked and The Lion King. Let's just give people a little bit of context so we can start off.
On Broadway, I've had the privilege, and I do consider it a privilege, of working on some major shows: the original Miss Saigon, Beauty and the Beast, Jekyll and Hyde, and some shorter shows like Pillow Man and the original Spamalot. I've had the privilege of doing the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade a couple of times. I've done the Tony Awards a couple of times. And prior to working on Broadway, when I was working in Washington, D.C., I had, again, the privilege of working at the Shakespeare Theater, doing shows with people like Sir Patrick Stewart, and meeting sitting presidents and ambassadors and senators and Supreme Court justices, and just living the best wonderful life of opportunity and connection with those people and those projects.
Excellent. And we'll talk a little bit about doing the job of your dreams in a minute, but let's just start with working on Broadway, putting on a play, putting on the show must go on regardless. Let's talk a little bit about, for me, it's such a great example of teamwork. So many people involved in getting a show together. Many of them we forget about, of course. We see the actors on stage, but we forget all the things that happen behind us. So just talk to us a little bit about some of those dynamics, about all the different people involved in making one of those Broadway shows possible, because I'm sure there's thousands and thousands of people that are involved in it, and yet we see just the two or three or half a dozen stars on stage and we think that's it.
And that's it. That's the magic. So if you ever are at a play and you look in your program and you flip past the cast list, you will see at least one, if not two pages of all the people that are involved. And here's an interesting fact. In all of that, on Wicked and on almost any Broadway show, never once have we had the same group of people doing a show.
Wow.
Because there are people out with injury, illness, vacations, you name it. And so the Wicked dressing crew is 14 people. And on any given performance, there may only be 10 of us that are the full-time people. And we have 4 other people that are swings, is what we call our part-time people, or people that come in and cover us. And it is, people want to think it's chaotic backstage. It is not. Everything, as choreographed as you see things on stage, backstage is as choreographed. We know where we're supposed to stand when we're training people, or don't stand here because you're going to get hit by something. And then something goes wrong. And it does almost every performance.
Wow.
Most of the time, yeah. Sometimes not big, but a prop will break, a costume piece will break, a set piece will not move. someone will screw up a line or screw up their blocking or all these things. Most of the time, the audience doesn't know. We're able to solve that problem quickly. And then there are other times when it's obvious. We had a show a couple weeks ago where Elphaba didn't fly. She didn't defy gravity. Oops. That's very obvious to the audience that she didn't. But Lencia, who is our current Elphaba, we have a plan B. And that's the thing. We have plan Bs. And we trust each other that we each know our job and can problem solve quickly, which is one of the major assets of anyone working in theater, is we problem solve quickly. May not be the best solution, but it is a solution and the show goes on. Rarely do we stop a show completely.
And
it does happen, but it is very rare.
yeah, I love that. I never took a few things there that I took away from that. I've never really thought about the dynamics of the crew changing so regularly. Talk about having to quickly build trust and relationships with people that you have to 100% rely on in the moment. And they're not, because a lot of us in business, right, generally, we have the same team for a period of time, and what you were just saying there was pretty much the team is dynamic each and every day. So how do you get those people up to speed so quickly and how do you get them to be part of the team rapidly so that the show can keep running?
It's everybody. It's the actors too,
Yeah.
that are never consistent.
Okay.
We rehearse them, we train them. So for wardrobe, they come in, we give them a set of our notes that we've written. They follow us, they watch what we do. Then the next performance or a performance or two later, they come back in and then I follow them and they're doing it. Sometimes there's a third or a second hands-on for them.
Yeah.
But at that point, they are supposed to know the track. And if I call out, if I go on vacation, they're supposed to do it. The actors have a rehearsal period where they're learning the show.
Sure.
And then they'll follow around the person backstage and have a put in their costumes and what have you. What I say to my swings is when they're training is I'm going to let you stumble, but I'm never going to let you fall.
Love that.
That, I mean, I'm not going to be there when they're covering me. So they have to figure it out. And all of us on the show want the same thing, which is an amazing performance that the audience loves. So we're also helpful to each other. If you see an actor standing in the wrong place or a prop person that's new or whatever, you're going to tell them. And in the theater, we say shove with love. Like sometimes you have to like literally shove someone out of the way.
Yeah.
Because you just notice they're in the wrong place and they're going to get hit, or just be in the wrong place. And you shove with love and you help and you support. And everyone wants everyone to succeed because our ultimate goal is that performance and the audience's satisfaction and happiness. And everyone that comes in actually wants to do the job.
Yeah.
It's not like you wake up one day and go, I'm going to work on Broadway, or I need to get a job, so I'm going to work on Broadway. It's people that want to do this work. So there's also that.
Yeah. And so that's so interesting to pull a few analogies together from what, we're often talking about here on the show. Is a few things that I'm pulling out of that is you've all got a really clear purpose. You all want exactly the same thing, to run the best show. So the same where ultimately we want to have in business, right? A clear vision, everyone's pulling in the same direction. And what you were saying there, highly engaged people. You want to be on Broadway, right? It's not easy to get on Broadway. You've got to do some very specific things to get onto Broadway. So you're not carrying people that don't want to be there. You've got a team of very highly motivated and engaged people pulling together on a shared purpose. But the other thing I really loved about what you were sharing there was a concept that I call teamship, which is you don't find a hierarchy, right, behind the stage, because it's like everybody's got to get on and do everything together. everyone's got to work as that team to make it work. And I love that. Shove them with love. Get out the way in order to protect them. And that's the way that a good, well-oiled team work, is that we have really honest and candid conversations with each other to make everything work. And we understand that nobody is better than anyone. And if everyone doesn't play their role, nothing works. And that's definitely the case on a stage, right?
Absolutely. Oh my God, goodness. And the thing is that yes, my job is to make sure people aren't naked. The easiest way to describe what I do. But be, but my eyes are open. So I do know what the actor's traffic is, or a prop person's traffic is. When a line or a lyric or a music note goes wrong, I literally, this is me. Something's not right, because the show doesn't sound right
Yeah.
when that happens. So again, we're not siloed. We are an entire machine on and off stage that are pulling together. There is a bit of a hierarchy in that there are stage managers, and they're like, if something's going wrong, they're the ones that are going to be the communicators. Once they find out if it's something that's going wrong in wardrobe,
Yeah.
or I need them, then they're going to like take charge, but I'm going to be problem solving. So there is a bit of a hierarchy, but for the most part, yes, it's
Yeah.
just a group of
Yeah.
crazy people backstage.
It's that kind of that collective accountability and responsibility to make everything work together. And that's what I love. And that's what a lot of my work, I talk about horse herds and the dynamics in horse herds. And that's exactly what happens in the horse herd. It's all collective responsibility. And whichever horse sees the danger calls it out, right? So when you see something not working on the set, even though it's not your area of wardrobe, right? You call it out, you jump in, you sort it out. And that only comes when you are really present and grounded and in the moment. And so many leaders in business today are just so distracted and off in their heads. They don't see, like you said, that musical note going wrong, that the prop coming in the wrong place or something, because they're just so siloed on what's going on directly in front of them. They haven't had time to look up and see the bigger picture and how everything goes together.
Absolutely. That's exactly right.
You just shared there an example of when something went wrong on stage. The character didn't fly. But what are some other examples of where things haven't gone wrong? Because we always try and get everything right in business. And what I loved when you were talking about swings was the fact that you give them the opportunity to get it a little bit wrong so they learn. So we talk a lot about that in business. How do we create that culture of experimentation where our team members can try things out, and it doesn't always go to plan, but it doesn't take the show off the road? But what are some examples of things that haven't quite gone to plan that may or may not have taken the show off the road?
Okay, I think it was like 3 weeks ago. This was me, and so the opening number was finished. One of my actors ran off stage. We were doing the costume change, and he put his boot on and zipped it, and the zipper pull came out of his hand, and the zipper completely broke. So nothing to do in that moment, because he has to get on stage. So I'm good. And so he went on stage. I had to do another costume change, whatever. And then I grabbed the two understudy pairs of boots and got them, and told the stage manager he didn't fit either of those pairs. And meanwhile, the show is going on, but he dances and does things, so he can't have a boot that isn't zipped up. So I'm like, okay. And I literally grabbed a roll of duct tape, gaff tape, and taped it into his boot. And then had another moment where I was able to go down to the wardrobe room, tell the supervisors what was going on. And there happened to be another pair of boots.
Oh, good.
That were in the building. And we eventually got him those, and they fit. If not, he would have done the rest of the show when he was wearing those boots, having them taped up.
Yeah.
So that was a bunch of people working together, but me being point on it.
Yeah.
Because I knew where the things were. And yeah, I had, this is a while, okay. There's a goat in Wicked, a
Okay.
goat character. These are things I get to say. I work with a goat, and he has a tail. He's a goat. And the actor is supposed to switch from his act 1 pants, move the tail to his act 2 pants.
Right.
And one night, act 2 had started, and I was where I was supposed to be, and a stage manager came to where I was and said, Bill forgot his tail. And these are actually things I get to say in the real world. And I looked at the other dresser and I went, I'll be right back. We were waiting. And I ran to where Bill was standing and I went, follow me. And I was going away from where his dressing room would be. And he started, and I went, no, follow me. And I have stage left an extra tail.
Right.
Because, so that's my plan B, because I had to run for that tail twice before earlier. And I was like, I am never running for that tail up a flight of stairs and to the dressing room to get a tail. So then I'm like, okay. And then the stage manager, who was new, said, I didn't know that was there. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so now everyone knows there's a box stage left with an extra goat tail. Yeah. And so all of it happened, and I still had time to get back to the change that I was sitting there waiting to do.
What I love about this story that you're sharing here is such a great thing, because it's about how there's two really powerful points that come out for me. And the first is that the need for you to be really solution focused and have a lot of critical thinking, which is one of the top 10 skills that the World Economic Forum say that people need now in the workplace, is critical thinking and this ability to make quick decisions. But also what I love about this story is the fact that you learn from the first time, right? You didn't have the tail somebody forgotten a tail and you had to go and get it. And therefore you put in a plan to make it easier next time. And that's all about learning from our mistakes, or learning better systems and processes to enhance what we've got. That wasn't a mistake. The actor had made the mistake by not putting the tail on, but you put in a solution and a procedure. And I think that's so valuable for us to remember in business, that it's always so important to have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, because things don't go to plan. And particularly in the world that we live in today, which is pretty chaotic and a lot of uncertainty. How can we dig deep and have some different plans, different alternatives and systems and processes that we can bring in really effortlessly as and when we need them? It's incredible.
So one of my favorite things to say when something goes wrong, or you do something in a slightly different way, it's not right or wrong. You just, oh, I'm going to do this. And sometimes it's just because you did it that way. It wasn't a conscious choice. And mine, like, oh, I'm workshopping that. Okay, great. So that's become a watchword. That's not the word I need. I'm just workshopping something. I just tried something out. And it's also, that's what happens to get a show anywhere on Broadway, is you have things called workshops where the writers and producers are getting together. They're doing a table read of the show. Then they will do different levels of workshops of putting it on its feet in front of other money people.
Yep.
And it iterates and iterates and iterates. The writers will go back if it's on its feet and there's choreography, like the choreographer may go back and tweak things. And then it does a tryout somewhere. It's frequently called an out of town tryout. And that will go through so many iterations before it even is thought of to bring to Broadway.
Yeah.
Shows very rarely just open on Broadway.
Yeah.
Like they have been in workshop, in development for years. So yeah, just, and everyone around me, I work closely with another dresser named John, or I'm around him a lot.
Yeah.
And he loves, oh, we're workshopping this today. And it's fun. And so when somebody screws up, even minor, or does something slightly out of sequence, it's also just a light-hearted way of, oh, interesting, I like that workshop. And sometimes you find it's a happy accident and this is actually more efficient.
Yeah.
So can we keep doing it that way?
Yeah.
And yeah. And so it is that trust and that levity and the yes and of being there and on stage when something goes wrong, when a lift doesn't happen. Like their trust is, yeah, we just trust each other and we care about each other.
Yeah.
And it's that military of, we are taking care of the people to the right and to the left.
Yeah.
Like I call them my actors. It's not the actor. They're mine.
Yeah.
And I will fight for them like I fight for my family.
Yeah.
They are my actors. And even though I'm responsible mainly for 3, the entire acting company is my responsibility.
Yeah.
So if I see something on Glenda or whatever, I will probably say to her dresser, hey, did you notice that?
Yeah.
But if her dresser isn't there, I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Because they're my responsibility.
And I love that, the way that you feel that everything is, I love that. It's my team, it's my responsibility. There's no silo. I'm hearing no ego. It's very much we are in this together and we are all doing this. Because what we see a lot in business and what we talk about a lot is the me versus we culture. So there's a lot of egos in business. Me. And actually what we're beginning to see is business slowly move towards the we culture, the recognition that everything happens because of everything else. And we've all got this impact around us. So let's work collectively to create this really positive impact around us. And it's how do we all collaborate together to create success, not do how I create success, because that is so transient. But the we success is lasts and has got some duration and sustainability around it.
Want to paint a picture that we're all like, all we all have our moments where don't touch my act. And you do have that day or that moment where your ego rears its ugly head, and sometimes it needs to. And then how do you deal with that? I had a situation where another dresser tried to be helpful and was not helpful. I had discussions with them about why what they were doing was not helpful. They were inconsistent with the help and they just were not hearing it. And this had gone on for a year or two. And it was just, and finally it happened when I was training someone. And my ego, I was livid. So got to a point in the show where I looked at my swing and I said, okay, we just wait here for a second, for a while, hang out. I've got to go do something. I'll be right back. And I went downstairs to the wardrobe room to the supervisor, and I lost my mind. I looked at my supervisor and I'm like, this is what's happening. This cannot happen. This is why it's happening. This is who it needs to stop. You need to put it like and my supervisor was like, and I'm like, no, there's no maybe. It ends. If they want to do that, then they do it 8 shows a week, 52 weeks a year, and they train their swing. It is not every so often when they feel like it, because if it's not done, I or my swing gets blamed, not them. And I literally lost my mind. And it was very ego driven, but there was also an element of taking care of my swing.
Yeah.
Making sure that they could succeed. But also the other dresser was just not hearing me.
Yeah.
And was not hearing me for a very long time. Yeah. So I tried and finally I snapped. It was ego driven in a way.
Yeah.
In a big way.
But done for the needs of, we need to have consistency in order to get success. And if we
Yeah.
don't, and somebody's coming in and being very inconsistent, then things don't run. So I think I don't necessarily see that as ego per se. It's about how do we get consistency? And if somebody's not listening, then sometimes we do have to escalate. I always talk about energy. We start with the please don't do that. Please don't do that. And you crescendo the energy up because sometimes people have got their earmuffs on and they're just not listening. And we were talking before
Yeah,
we
that
came on.
crescendo.
Yeah, like crescendo. And we were talking before we came on stage about the importance of consistency because you were telling me, and I was amazed by this. Wicked has been on Broadway for 22 years. So, this consistency is so important so that a show in London looks like a show in New York, looks like a show in Shanghai or wherever else it might be. So how do you get those levels of consistency? Because I think that's something that every business is trying to get as businesses become more and more global, that level of consistency across the board. So how do you get it consistent, yet also perhaps sometimes you have to recognize the things that are going on locally, culturally, that you might have to need to adapt to across the way. So how do you deal with it?
The script wouldn't adapt to
Yeah.
that. The choreography is the choreography. What ends up having to adapt is the set, possibly because the theater can't facilitate certain aspects of trapdoors or flying people or what have you. Like we have a national tour, and in that there are no trapdoors because theaters hate if you come and cut holes in the stage. If they have a trapdoor, they will make use of it, but not every stage
Yeah.
does. So in that regard, that changes. We have so there are associate directors and choreographers that go set up those shows. So that is consistent, and they set the show up in London, which should be approaching its 20th anniversary.
Wow.
It's been running quite a while in London. I'm not sure. I know it opened after we opened in New York. So those creatives go over and set up
Yeah.
that show. They have the costume plot and the light, all of that stuff is already done. So then they duplicate those costumes and the lights and what have you. And then they're setting it up the same way. I don't know if we still do. We did have a show in Asia and it toured. We've had the show in Australia. There's a Brazilian company. And yeah, so those creatives go and set that up. And they have the plane, they have the footprint, they have the costume plots.
Yeah.
And they are slightly different. The national tour is slightly different, not just because of trapdoors, but there's one less ensemble person.
Yeah.
And so they've combined some things.
Yeah.
But unless you are like one of our Wicked mega fans,
Yeah.
which we have, you wouldn't necessarily, if you saw it in Des Moines,
Yeah.
you wouldn't know that there was one less
Yeah.
because the show still looks and sounds
Yeah.
beautiful.
Excellent.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. That's amazing.
so it's a very consistent,
Yeah. Experience.
they know what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, it gets generated again and again.
Yeah. Awesome. So, what would be the biggest takeaway or piece of advice you'd like to share with the audience about what lessons we can take from the world of theatre to apply to business?
Oh, the one.
Or two.
Give trust until trust is taken away. The people that come into your orbit, into your team, are there because they've earned that space. And you should realize that they're not there to cause problems, they're there to do their job and to help. So give trust and grace until it's proven that should be taken away.
I love that.
Yeah.
I really love that because trust is what makes everything run in business. And yeah, it takes time to earn trust, but I think you start from the premise that you're giving people trust to begin with, and then they're building and building on that. It's when we start from a position of mistrust, it's very difficult for somebody who joins a team to then it takes a lot of time to build it up, and that's just a lot of wasted time and energy in my view, which is something that I massively believe that we waste too much of in businesses, wasted time, energy, and resource.
There's an amazing book. The title I'm gonna forget. I may come up with it, but it's by a gentleman named Benjamin Zander. And he worked with the Boston
Yeah,
Conservatory and was a teacher. And he has a chapter called Give Them an A.
that's
And
right.
he
Yeah,
noticed so you know what I'm talking about.
I know the book.
Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and that chapter speaks with that whole book, but that chapter is about he had students that were so driven by the grade that they lost their artistry.
Yeah.
And so he got the administration to agree, and he walked into class and said, "Here's my final grade sheet. Everyone has an A." And it was post dated to the end of the
Yeah.
semester. And then he said, "This semester is about earning that A." And it is giving people the A because
Yeah.
people want to be good.
Yeah.
People are not always good. People don't always get along, but if you're clear on your purpose and what the group purpose
Mhm.
is, you can have a bit of oil and water as long as there's respect there.
Yeah.
And so give somebody the A, give them the grace that they want to help and they want to be a good team member until they prove to you that they don't.
Yeah.
And
And I
then
love,
call it a.
yeah, and I love you reminding me about that. Benjamin Zander, The Art of Possibility, and I'll put that in the show notes.
Yes,
Yeah, and actually, I remember
it's
one
a
of my
beautiful.
coaches, one of my coaches did exactly that with me. God, and that would have been probably back in 2014. One of my coaches when I was in the US actually did that for our coaching year, and that's how I know about the book, and I've got a copy of the book here. So Benjamin Zander, The Art of Possibility, and I think that's such
I
a
think I
great
bought
note.
that book like 10 times and loaned it to people and have not gotten it back because
Ah,
it's such a beautiful, and what
yeah,
I loved about it was he's coming at it from art
mm,
and how art translates to life and business
mhm,
rule.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
oh,
So,
that book.
so
Now I need to go buy it again.
you
Oh my
do,
God, thank you.
yeah. So on that note, we probably need to bring this to a close, but thank you so very much. Thank you for being an A guest on the show.
Yes.
And
I love gold stars. Thank you.
and we'll put Teri's contact notes, everyone, and contact details in the show notes for you so that you can reach out to her if you'd like to speak to her and find out more about what she does and how she can support you on your journey. So, everyone, I think my closing parting thought for this week was how can you be an A student this week and create A students in your organization? So, until next week, everyone, have a great time. Bye bye. Thanks for listening to the Impactful Teamwork Podcast. Please stay tuned for future episodes and do subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating on your favourite platform. Recommendations are essential for attracting new listeners. Please follow us on social media at Julia Felton and at Business Horsepower. And if there are any topics you'd like us to cover on future episodes, please do let me know. Remember, you and your team are always making an impact. What impact will you make today?